Welcome back everyone to another Steel Division briefly cast. This time we're going to have a 2v2 on Saint-Mère-Église between Ruffy playing as the 15th Infantry, Wendy as the 101st Airborne, how fitting for Saint-Mère-Église. And on the Axis side we have Popov with the Caps as the Panzerlehr and Falk as the 3rd Fallschirmjäger. So 2 Airborne divisions, 1 armor, 1 infantry. You already see, I'm guessing that this is the armor player. Yes, Popov. Going in with a couple AT guns and a Puma. In fact, a Puma plus a autocannon vehicle to support it. So a lot light vehicles from him. Then his friend is going to be coming in with a swarm of infantry, it seems. Command unit, couple ATs, a machine gun for the right side. Of course, Saint-Mère-Église does have the titular town in the center of the map. So, of course, the 101st Airborne and 15th Scottish Infantry will have a happy time capturing the center, I'm guessing. You have AVRE plus lots and lots of infantry carriers coming in from our Scottish player, Ruffy. And Wendy looks like he will be trying to capture the right side of the map. Now, no side seems to have gone out any aircraft. We do have, however, have a howitzer from the Airborne. Of course, the Airborne howitzer quite dangerous. On the left side, we have the Pax plus the Puma already shelling the British infantry carriers as they're approaching this open field. Very good positioning by the German player Popov, managing to catch the enemy in the open round. Thankfully, we have the AVRE for the Brits coming in to the rescue, plus the Churchill 5, managing to get a huge shot on the Pack 50mm. And probably going to be able to destroy the pack soon enough. Plus, there's also a 6-pounder pounding away at the Puma, so forcing it to retreat soon enough, I'm guessing. 2 Pumas, in fact. That's quite a lot of points spent on anti-tank. 220. Oh no, we do have a Spitfire with a couple of bombs. Bombs going to be dropped on the AT gun. The second 50mm pack goes down. Meantime, the center has been taken by the 101st Engineers. So pretty good little push by the Americans securing the town and making sure that they do have a bit of territory under their belt. So the Germans are only at plus 0-0 instead of perhaps something that could have been more with this push on the left side. But hey, all goes pretty well for the Allies, as there's also the 75mm airborne howitzer pounding away at some of these Pack 41s, it seems. Not the best AT weapon, but still pretty decent. Overall, however, it really isn't going to be doing all that much if it gets shot at by the 75mm. So much more, it's going to retreat, try to get into a bit of a better cover. Meantime, looks like the Pumas are moving up and doing their job. One of them has been destroyed, the second one has been destroyed, so 6-pounder definitely paying for itself. Actually, Veteran C2 6-pounder, so pretty strong unit over there. Overall, it seems like we have a pretty decent position for the Brits on the left side, because the AVRE did die, but the Churchill 5 with that main gun, 13HE, is still alive. A bit of a push from the German infantry, a couple of Fallschirmjägers trying to push up against their counterparts from the 101st. Doing quite well so far. They're going to get supported by this MG34, and they are being supported by the Fallschirmjäger leader. So they do have a bit of a advantage there. But unfortunately for them, the Allies have the artillery and air superiority. They're bringing down the fire on them. And there's pretty much nothing they can do to retaliate at this point. No anti-air guns, no fighters for the Germans, and no counter-artillery either. So overall, pretty bad situation for the Germans. In fact, this 90-point investment into 2 more Fallschirmjägers seems very rash in the light of what's been happening right now. 2 howitzers plus a couple of fighter bombers dropping payloads on your infantry is pretty much a wake-up call to go for some aircraft and artillery of your own, I would think. And it seems like the Germans will be trying to truck forward with just their normal setup right now, which includes pretty much infantry and lots of it. On the left side, Popov has gone for a Panzerwerfer. Panzerwerfer going to be fairly decent against these rifles. I think, however, it was mostly brought out to shoot down the 6-pounder anti-tank gun. which is still providing fire support for our British friends against a lot of half-tracks from the lair. The big threat at this point would be the Churchill 5, because of course this is a very, very effective infantry support tank. So at this point, the Germans still mostly relying on their infantry in Phase A, so we have a pretty big incentive for the Germans to get out lots of pack guns to try to force away this Churchill. Unfortunately, it seems like the Allies are able to keep these packs at distance. They do appear to be out of range mostly, even though it's supposed to be in range. Weird. It is within 1,000 meters. Guess it doesn't have a line of sight. No, it does not have a line of sight because of these trees. Very good. So Panzer were bringing up a little bit of the push from the Brits, but the Brits managed to bring in a couple of rifleman units through the trees where these machine guns and vehicles can't really cover the German troops. So they're going to be able to push up anyway, thus giving the Allies a 55% lead when it comes to map control. This is very, very bad for our poor Axis players. They need to absolutely do something about it. Bringing in the Panzer L6 with that 9 HE devastating gun could be very, very strong as an infantry support vehicle against the airborne. Problem is there's an M22 Locust ready to counter the Panzer L6 already, so perhaps not the best investment of, I believe it's 50 points? No, 60 points. Still, pretty cheap little vehicle, so nothing too major. Of course, both of these vehicles are quite cheap. Here comes a Spitfire on the left side, going to be dropping some bombs on the AT gun. Looks like the AT gun was spotted because of, well, maybe just proximity, or maybe they tried to fire at something for the Germans. And of course, gets pinned down quite quickly. However, because of these half-tracks, pulling in MG42 fire against the riflemen, I think that the pack is going to be able to escape this pretty deadly situation. Meantime, in the center, it seems like a couple of Fallschirmjägers are holding down the fort against the engineers, and not much has been happening throughout the game on this central part of the map. On the right side, however, looks like the Americans are on the upswing. They're bringing up a command Locust, and they're going to be trying to use that as much as possible to push back these German infantry units. It seems like they've used these 75mm pack howitzers extremely well to soften up the German support weapons, such as these mortars and these packs. So because of that, their infantry and armor has a pretty free line of advance throughout the area, because this is a very, very open area. So with the armored support and with basically only one AT gun left for Germans, it seems like the Allies are in a really good spot. The fight for the neighborhood of the town that was assaulted by the German paratroopers seems to have been successful. So the Germans are in control of a little tiny part of the town. But thanks to the fire support from these M22 Locusts, and I'm guessing hopefully these artillery pieces, soon enough, the German paratroopers might be evicted from these houses and control might be restored for democracy. On the left side, however, we have the Churchill 5 just plowing on through, doesn't basically care about any of these units. The Panzerwerfer even is taking fire from the 75mm, 3-incher, I believe it's from this Churchill. Really now, a 95mm. Oh, it's the howitzer one, right? Never mind. So the howitzer, of course, not killing these light vehicles outright, unless it is a direct hit, which almost never happens with the Churchill 5, because its accuracy isn't the best. But it's definitely scaring the hell out of the crews, so making these vehicles much less effective. At this point, though, we have a Tiger E in Phase B for our Panzerlehr player. So this is the big counter card to what the Allies are trying to do on the left side. 240 points of German steel. Going to be barreling down the main road without a care in the world. Excellent Panzerwerfer barrage to prepare for its coming. Manages to destroy a couple of British units and pin down a few more. So this was definitely what the Germans were looking for. The 6-pounder anti-tank gun is still alive, but the 6-pounder at this kind of maximum range will not be able to deal with the Tiger. Especially if the Tiger, especially if the Tiger can stay at this kind of long range. We're at like 650 meters, something like it. 200, 400, 600, yeah, 650 meters. Still way, way too far for the 6-pounder to penetrate. So since the 6-pounder was caught out in the open instead of in a line of trees, it will get completely smothered by that 88mm main gun on the Tiger. Churchill 5 tries to get the hell out. There goes the command carrier for our British friend Ruffy. So unfortunately, he doesn't really have any counters to this Tiger E. He's going to have to bring in something. Looks like he has a 17-pounder coming up. Yep, that is a 17-pounder. And that's probably another 17-pounder, yep. Plus a Spitfire coming in with the bombs. Going to be trying to soften up the infantry support for that Tiger. Panzergrenadiers taking a huge hit. And lots of casualties. 4 men already down for that squad, which was then at 10 men. So it was at full strength. No, it isn't. Meantime, right side of the map, it seems like is being pushed by the Americans, but still the Germans hold on to their strong points. The neighborhood of the town has been reclaimed by the Americans, though, so in general, it seems like the Germans are still on the back foot, despite their recent successes. In the meantime, they still have not brought out any big pieces of artillery, nor any aircraft, which is something that's actually kind of surprising me. Stuk 3 is... Ooh, that's a big 26 Marauder. B-26 Marauder actually is going to hit a huge blob of German troops, completely demolishing a couple half-tracks, a recon squad, a Panzergrenadier, and forcing the Tiger to retreat. So this was very, very bad. Speaking of the Devil, here comes its wings. This MU-109 destroys a Spitfire, it seems. I think it was a Spitfire. Was it a Spitfire? Looks like a Spitfire. Definitely a Spitfire. Might have been a Thunderbolt. Check out the markings. Yeah, it's a Spitfire. So Spitfire goes down. A little bit of less air support coming in for the Brits, but definitely not enough to prevent that bombing run from the B-26 Marauder. So overall, the Germans on the left side are still going to be essentially... Did the Tiger go down? I think the Tiger went down. I don't see... Yep, the Tiger went down to a frontal shot from a 17-pounder, I'm guessing. Yep, that's the only... That's over maximum range for the 17-pounder. Okay. No, it is at maximum range. Never mind. Sorry. Or it could have been the 6-pounder as well, getting a cheeky shot in and getting a lucky penetration from medium to high range. Both of these are possible. If I were a betting man, I'd go with the 17-pounder. So very, 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 very good bombing run from the B-26. Not only destroys lots of German troops, but also forces the Tiger to retreat, taking away player control from that vehicle and making sure that the 17-pounder could go in with the Tiger being defenseless. So that was overall very, very strong. Here comes another Spitfire. I'm not sure what it's trying to do. Probably waiting for a target to drop its hot sticky load on. Stuk 3G on the right side still pretty much is lacking for targets because these M22 Locusts are very smartly being hidden behind these both the tree lines and the houses of said Barrelees. So these M22s are essentially covering themselves from their counter quite well, thus giving the Allies a lot more pressure onto this open field, because these tanks could come out of hiding at any time and start to open up on the Germans. Big artillery, looks like a observation artillery is being called in from what? I do not know. So it must have been the Panzerwerfer, actually. Must have been the Panzerwerfer. It is indeed reloading. So looks like all the Allied infantry is being forced to either flee the town or surrender to the German push from these Fallschirmjägers and Sturmpioneer paratroopers. So very, very nicely the Germans managed to get a bit of a decent counterattack in with only 3 infantry units. So like this is a 20... No, this is a 40 unit. Wow, the Fallschirmpioneer is pretty expensive there. So 95 plus... Okay, 125 points plus the Panzerwerfer barrage. That's a very, very cheap little counterattack to take an entire town. Well, not really the entire town, but to take most of the town off from the Allies, especially when there were these airborne engineers around. Yeah, that's very, very good for the Germans. Looks like they're also going to be able to take down these airborne rifles, at least forcing them to retreat. Pathfinders trying to come in and provide some spotting support for the German infantry, but there goes the Pioneer Squad. And at this point, these Fallschirmjägers move into a little bit too close. They move into the church, and unfortunately, the church is going to be burned a lot by these engineers. Second Engineer Squad way too far away to use its flamethrower. So the Germans will be able to recapture the church. It looks like command squad coming in by jeep will not be enough to dislodge them, I don't think, unless it manages to get its panic bar filled up, in which case the Germans will have to retreat. But here comes a big truckload of reinforcements. Convoy of free Opal Blitzes coming into the town, definitely going to be able to secure the central plaza and the church and force away the American troops. On the left side, we have a huge engagement coming in with lots of smoke coming down. Looks like the British have brought in some 2,500 priests. So priests smoking out the Königstiger from Popov, trying to prevent it from destroying the British vehicles, but it looks like it was not enough to save the Churchill V, or Churchill 5, who went down in the fighting. Huge Panzerwerfer barrage, looks to have done lots of damage to the British infantry in the area. They're now all retreating. This 17-pounder is in a pretty decent position. The problem is, as you can see, this tree line in front of it is sort of making sure that it cannot shoot at the Königstiger. So the Königstiger is pretty safe from any harm at this point and can safely provide fire support for the German infantry. The only thing it has to worry about is this rifleman leader from Ruffy, but unfortunately that is way too far away for the British to get a kill on that Königstiger. On the right side, it seems like it's a bit of a stalemate. The Allies still aren't really too eager to advance into machine guns and Stugs, and now even flak guns looks like are being positioned in the trees by Folk. It seems like the reinforcement convoy by the Germans was pushed away. We have a lot of Fallschirmjägers that were no doubt part of that, who are kind of huddled up towards the rear end of the town. So it kind of tells me that the Allies were able to get a good artillery barrage, it seems, from this 356mm Ford GPA. B-26 Marauder also taking a lot of fire from the Me-109. Me-109 getting its second kill, it looks like. Unfortunately, the Me-109 is being forced to retreat by the Bofors guns, and the Spitfire is going to be trying to chase it down, but there's also some German AA guns saving the skin and aluminum hide of this Me-109 G6. So, very good play with the fighters from the Germans, managing to sort of make them survive in a hostile air environment for quite a long time, getting also quite lucky that the Spitfire had to sort of turn around widely and turn into the arc of fire of these German AA guns. So that was pretty damn good for our German players. Looks like we have a couple of howitzers from our third Fallschirmjäger player. We also have a Henschel. Henschel being called in to destroy the M22 Locusts, who are annoyingly sitting behind these hedges. But, well, of course, the Henschel 129 doesn't really care too much because they just fly over. Looks like Folko kind of knows where everything is. Yep, destroys the command Locust also. And I'm thinking that this P-51 might be able to destroy the Henschel, although there's a second Me-109 with the Veterancy coming in, and the Mustang will have to retreat. Also, Spitfires on the western end of the map, getting lots of airstrikes down on these German troops, pushing away the front line by quite a bit. But unfortunately for the Allies, also the British troops in the area are being pinned down by these STKFZ 221s, or 251, sorry, half-tracks. One of the Panzer Grenadiers is surrendering to a dead squad, and the second one will stay alive thanks to the support of this double MG, or actually single MG from the half-track. The double one is on the rear end of the vehicle. So it seems like the Allies have the left side still under pretty much lockdown, except for the fact that this Königstiger exists. If it were to push up and be more aggressive, it looks like another Tiger went down. So that's very unfortunate for our Panzerlehr player. Yeah, if this Königstiger were to be a little bit more aggressive, the Germans could have a chance of pulling through on the left side, but it seems like every time they've tried to use their tanks aggressively, they've run into the wall of AT guns from the Brits. So they're really reluctant at this point to do so. Very good Panzer barrage going to destroy the 17-pounder most likely. It's only one man left, and indeed it goes down to the flames with the Panzerwerfer. So very good kill by the Brits. By the Germans. That was a absolutely crucial unit to the British defense in the left side of the map. M22 Locusts still providing lots and lots of fire support against these German infantry squads trying to push up the town, now pushing them out entirely most likely. There are these Sturm Pioneers on the other side of these trees, however. Their flamethrower can be very, very deadly against vehicles. In fact, if they were to push up, I think that they would be able to destroy both of these vehicles before they could really retaliate in kind against them. I feel like if Volko was a little bit more aggressive, he could definitely get something done with that. Looks like the Stuka has a flanking shot on some Assault Pioneers. Unfortunately, yeah, not really anything too major in the area for the Stuka to shoot at. Stuka, realizing that it doesn't really have anything to shoot at on the right side, moves over to the center to find new targets. Probably a pretty good move. Fallschirmjägers moving up the central street. Definitely a bit of a mistake with that, them being still shaken. So they should have probably waited to let their morale recover, because at this point they go into combat, and as soon as they enter combat, they will probably be panicked and will be forced to retreat. Yep, exactly. Actually, no, surrender to the Allied forces, because they were also cut off from their friends on the outskirts of St. Mary-Lise. Allied planes still bringing in a huge amount of punishment on the German troops. Königsdieger taking a shot to the face by the planes, and then another shot to the face by a 17 pounder, and then another bomb to the face by the Spitfire. Goes down to a nice shot by the 17 pounder. Completely outgunned and outmatched by the British ATs. That is the third heavy for Popov that went down. Absolutely needs to be more careful with these vehicles, although at this point I feel like he really doesn't have enough points nor reserves of heavy vehicles to bring out more. So I feel like it's going to be the end of the Tigers for him. Looks like the British infantry gets pretty much destroyed by the counterattack of these Pioneers, but with the help of this Crocodile, I'm guessing that the Pioneers will also be forced to escape out of these trees. Because at this point, if they stay there, they will certainly be slaughtered by the British fire support. In fact, the Crocodile is destroying their supporting vehicles, the half-tracks. Looks like a 234 armored car trying to bring in some fire support for the Germans, but it's going to go down to the Crocodile's 3-incher gun. Big air push from the Allies gets, looks like a bombing run from the Marauder, destroying quite a lot of German equipment and units. Unfortunately for the Germans, they bring in the Mi-109 to support, but it's going to chase... Yeah, it's going to get chased down by the Mustang. Goes down basically at the last possible moment. Crashes outside of the map. So completely outgunned there. 3 against 1. That poor Mi-109 really didn't have a chance in hell. So he was definitely outmatched there. At this point, it seems like the Allies are just completely in control of the game. They have a very nice hold over the central part of the map. They have also a decent hold over the left side, where they have pushed quite significantly. The only thing that's kind of going decently for the Axis is the right side, which hasn't been contested by the Allies in a long, long time. It's sort of been kind of a stalemate, and at this point I feel like the Allies should be a lot more proactive on this side of the map. Okay, so they're starting to bring in airstrikes. They should also try to push with actual ground troops, though, I feel like. Because, yes, it's all good to do airstrikes, but really what's going to give you the points is when you actually destroy enemy units and push up the terrain with your own infantry. Looks like the howitzers are also being resupplied by this Jeep, and they have managed to destroy the MG-34 that was stationed in this farmhouse, it seems. So overall, the Allies have a pretty decent opening to get a good push going on the right side. On the left, the Henschel is being brought in. Doesn't destroy, it seems like, anything too major for the Allies. And it goes down to the 51 Mustang. Very, very well played by the Allied Air Forces. There's also a Challenger on the left side, which of course means that any German vehicles that come in are not only going to have to deal with a fairly strong lineup of anti-tank guns, because we have this 17 pounder here and we have another 17 pounder hiding itself for some reason in the corner. Not only that, they're also going to have to deal with a fairly serious anti-tank unit, tank destroyer for the Brits. B-26 Marauder being called in. Looks like it's going to be going in on this anti-air gun. Pretty lowly target to waste such a huge barrage on. The B-26 is like 260 points, right? Something like it. So it's definitely not something that you want to quote-unquote waste. As in, you wanted barrages to be as useful as possible. But, oh well. It's gonna go back to base, refuel and rearm. Airborne howitzers also managing to get a quite good line of sight on these 4mm Pioneers thanks to the support of these Pathfinders and these airborne rifles. So it looks like the recon support on the right side definitely coming in very useful for our 101st Airborne player, because he was able to spot these units in the buildings with these camouflaged Pathfinders before they could even open fire, and managed to destroy them with artillery and airstrikes. So this was definitely very good. Here comes a Stuk 3G, which isn't really going to be able to do much. SDKFZ-72 anti-aircraft mobile platform. You can call in for the Germans. A decent choice. The problem is there's an airborne anti-tank gun at this point. Finally, our 101st player coming in with some anti-tank and managing to get an excellent shot in on that half-track, destroying it and allowing the Allies just charge in with their Crocodile. Very, very good bombing run. It destroys another anti-air gun. And with the Crocodile, they will be able to just roll up right up to the base. Looks like a Tiger's being called in, plus an infantry unit. But there's really not going to be enough, I feel like, because, well, the Brits are bringing in lots and lots of solid infantry, it looks like, to provide a bit of a line in these trees. Plus, with the Crocodile has that Flamer, which has a fairly long range for a Flamer, 260 meters. And the Flamer can definitely hurt vehicles. You need to be very careful with these flamethrowers. Your tank could go down quite quickly. Also, the 6-pounder? No, 3-pounder. No. Wait. Well, doesn't matter now. That was gonna say, also the main gun on the Churchill could hurt the Tiger at this close of a range, but no problem. However, the Tiger might just walk into an ambush from a 17-pounder at point-blank range, and this is definitely not going to be too good for our good friend the Tiger. The Tiger does spot the 17-pounder, but just a slight half a second before the crew could get its shot off. Yep, the 17-pounder shoots first, just like Han Solo, and completely plasters the German heavy tank from a point-blank range. I'm sure the crew right now is definitely happy that they were able to get that shot off first. And at this point on the right side, even the M22 Locust seems like it feels safe enough to push up. Although, I mean, really, with this kind of an open ground, I wonder, I think that the 101st definitely has, well, they do have M10s, but they also, I think, have M8 Greyhounds, right? Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that they have M8 Greyhounds. So I feel like a lot of Greyhounds on this side would have definitely helped out, because it seems like the main reason that our Windy airborne player didn't push up is because they didn't have a lot of vehicles. So he was kind of waiting on vehicles to push up against this very open little field. But yeah, I would have gone with a couple of Greyhounds, because Greyhounds can be very, very strong in this kind of a role, especially the recon versions. But oh well. Looks like in the center, this howitzer is getting completely plastered by both 356mm. Looks like naval barrage. Was it a naval barrage? I'm thinking that this was the 4 GPA naval barrage, but I don't see the 4 GPA anymore. Jeep supply, Jeep supply, Jeep supply. That definitely looked like an observation. Oh, okay. Universal carrier 203mm barrage plus the 2 pack howitzers from the airborne player, definitely plowing down a lot of the area in the left side. Looks like a couple of Gepards are being called in by Popov, but they're not going to be enough. In fact, even this Challenger could just take them on just very, very easily. 1 against 3. Doesn't really, yeah, they don't stand any chance against the 17-pounder of the Challenger. And frontal armor, of course, gonna go down pretty quickly. and I think that this is going to be about the end of the match. So overall, the Allies managing to get a better usage of their Air Force, definitely with their medium bombers, providing lots and lots of support against German infantry and support weapons, which were a big bane for the Germans. So if there were, or rather, if they had been able to get a little bit more artillery and air support, just like with that Panzerwerfer from Popov on the left side, more of that would have definitely helped against the 17 pounders for the 15th Scots, and it would have also helped out with the airborne player on the right and center areas of the map. Plus, of course, the air superiority that the Allies enjoyed was definitely a huge help in their pushes, especially on the left flank of the map. Plus, of course, a bit of a better use of heavy tanks would have definitely helped out the Germans quite a lot, because they pretty much wasted all their big heavies in pretty futile ventures. And again, if they had been a little bit better supported by something like artillery and airstrikes, I feel like that push on the left side with the Tigers could have gone much, much better for our German friends. Overall, very, very good game. Thank y'all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.